Alright, so we are back in the Morrowind after a long way.
You seem like very good company.
Aw, what a compliment. It's a good thing to hear right when you come back. So, we're gonna have to remember exactly what we were doing before. Now, I'm tempted just to, because of the danger that was shown to me from being away from our Let's Play for so long, to just do the main quest, main story, blitz, mainline that all the way through. Let's see if we can get some orders. We need an Ashlander informant. I have heard of a fellow in Aldrune named Hasor Zanzubani, an Ashlander who left the Waste to become a wealthy trader. They say the Ashlanders like to give and receive presents. Take these 100 drakes, find out what Zuzubani likes, and get him a gift. Then give him the gift and see if he will tell you about the Ashlanders and the Neverine cult. Then report back to me. Journal been updated. 100 gold. Aldrune. I'm not sure where to find him, but I'd try the Ald Scar in Aldrune first. There's a more respectable place than the Rat in the Pot or the Council Club. To reach Aldrune from Balmora on foot, take the road north from Balmora to Caldera, exit Caldera through the northwest gate. Though Aldrune is nearly due north as the racer flies, the road swings far to the west to avoid the ash wastes, curving around at last to the east, even southeast, before approaching Aldrune. It's a long trip through desolate lands and easy to get lost if you leave the road. Alternatively, pay for passage on a silt strider. Might not be a bad thing. I mean, I don't know, it depends on what mood we're in. I don't know much about the Ashlanders. Most people say they are murderous savages, but most people are idiots. I know they hate their settled Dunmer cousins almost as much as they hate Westerners. They must be tough to live in the Ashlands. I don't think Outlanders can become members of the tribe. I don't know why anyone would want to. Alright. Time to advance the main quest. So this is our first time playing with our new computer setup, which features 1440p as our display, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We're going to be heading out into a immediate storm. And I have to resize all of my windows to deal with my new resolution. Yeah. Some of the things that I remember feeling about our campaign profile when I first left is that we have kind of a lot of spells that we might not necessarily be using. I'm curious about our level. Oh, we need to sleep, that's why I was in the room. Okay, well, in that case we're gonna sleep in this space. My sensitivity on my mouse is still very high. Go ahead and close the door. And sleep in a place where I murdered a bunch of people. Get a good night's sleep first. You've ascended to level 10. You woke today with a new sense of purpose. You're no longer afraid of failure. Failure is just an opportunity to learn something new. Nice. I wish I could wake up like that every day. We're getting pretty good at speed and personality. We have to kind of drag our magic skills along with us for the ride. And our luck is still, it's not really moving that much. So that's pretty good boost to some pretty key skills. This, of course, is our alchemy space. I think we've cleared out everything from alchemy that we need. You know, carrying a huge amount of potions is always the bane of my existence in playing Elder Scrolls games, because they always seem useful to tag along with you, but they cost some weight. Alright, in order to save time, let's just take the Silt Strider. It's not that much money. Oh, right in the middle of Blightstorm. The Council Club. Let's see, what's our quest button? Guess let's get in and out of the storm first. J for journal. That's what it is. Maybe the bartender will know what this person likes. It doesn't look like.
What is it, Outlander?
I forgot this is a Redoran city.
What is it, Outlander?
Now, Alderin's Imperial Cult Shrine is in Fort Buckmoth, south of town. The altar there cures disease and poison. Orchestane Quapis, the apothecary, sells cure potions, and they also have a savant, an enchanter, and a trader. Yeah, they don't let them inside the town, if you notice, in Morrowind. The Imperial Cult is always kept, usually, protected in a fort. That's the Imperial Outpost. It reminds me a lot of like British colonialization techniques.
What was that?
The designations of gods, demons, Aedra, and Daedra are universally confusing to the layman. They are often used interchangeably. Aedra and Daedra are not relative terms. They are elvish and exact. Azura is a Daedra, both in Skyrim and Morrowind. Aedra is usually translated as ancestor, which is as close as Cyrodiil can come to this elven concept. Daedra means roughly not our ancestors. This distinction was crucial to the Dunmer, whose fundamental split in ideology is represented by their mythical genealogy. Aedra are associated with stasis, Daedra represent change. Aedra created the mortal world and are bound to the earth bones. Daedra, who cannot create, have the power to change. As part of the divine contract of creation, the Aedra can be killed. Witness Lorcan and the Moons. The Protean Daedra, for whom the rules do not apply, can only be banished. Alright.
What do you want?
Stasis and can be killed. You know, that's not a great combo. I immediately forgot what map place we should look for our person at. There we go. Hasser Zain Zubani, the trader. He'll be downstairs reading, or in the back room below the bar. 5 far stars. This is a volume of verse collected from wise women of the Urshikalu Ashlanders. It consists of verses composed by Ashlander warriors, champions, and Ashkans, committed to memory by the wise women and transmitted down the generations. May I Shrink to Dust is attributed to the long-dead poet and warrior Zershishi Musmanul. Rise from darkness, red mountains, spread your dark clouds and green vapors. Birth earthquakes, shatter stones, feed the winds with fire. Flay the tents of the tribes from the land. Feed the burned earth with our souls. Yet never shall you have your rule over me. Never shall I tremble or flinch from your power. Never shall I yield my home and hearth, and from my tears shall spring forth the flower of grassland springs. Wow, beautiful. Yep. That's a very particular kind of people, Ashlanders. We're learning a lot about them now. In the back room below the bar.
May I help you?
Will? Really? I mean, I can't find him. Not downstairs reading for me. Back room below the bar. Oh, wait. No, that's not him. Temple services. Aldrin Temple's on the east side of town. Go to Fort Buckmoth south of town for Imperial Legion and Imperial Cult services. And these are just directions to the Mages Guild and Fighter Guild. Pricey but high quality clothier, alchemist, and enchanter shops are under Scar as well. You get more reasonable prices, but smaller selection from the smith, clothier, trader, pawnbroker, and bookseller near the entrance to Scar.
Is there something you need?
Well, this seems like his work. Ashlander Hymns. This is a volume of folk verses collected from Ashlanders. Wondrous Love is from the Urshiku Ashlanders of the Northern Ashlands. What a wondrous love it is to bind two souls in faith, chained completely together, with never a false word, weal and woe, wish and reel, woven each together, from first kiss to last breath, first and last whispered in love. Aw, that's really romantic. Gosh. There was a book of Aztec poetry that I got when I was in college that I had to sell back or I lost, and it's really grieves me to lose it. I want to find it again and buy it, but I don't know where it is. There's of course other books of Incan and Aztec poetry also. But yeah, they never had the same collection of poems that I really liked.
Is there something you need?
Wow. Where is this place? He has his own room here. He was born in Ashlander and knows their speech and custom and has grown rich by trading with them for the things prized by Westerners. Is that what you wanted to know? Kind of. I mean... So this is where he sleeps. This is his room. Or
Go ahead, Outlander. What do you need?
at least that he has a room here. Okay. I don't think Morrowind had
What was that?
Was you?
people with,
Yes, Outlander. What do you want?
you know, different schedules. So this was the Old Scar Inn. Oh. You are here, and well, I mean, you've returned. What news? Nothing yet, Lewis, but I'm working on it. Okay. That's the guy that wanted us to go north and find that, like, archaeology spot. You know, they said they weren't in the Rat and Pot. Necromancy is both illegal and utterly evil according to our customs and religion. Ah, trains in security. That's not terrible. We could use that to increase our intelligence. Although our intelligence should really be raised from magic skills going up. Tongue Toad. Good day, Tiberi. Can I help you find your way around Aldrune? Is there a specific place you're looking for? Gunnar is a long, hard walk west to the coast and then south. There are no marked routes. Okay. Blades is a prestigious service order for citizens demonstrating the greatest loyalty to the Emperor. To be named to the Blades by the Emperor is a great honor, and publicly acknowledged members serve openly in noble courts and diplomatic posts. Privately, many Blades members act as the Empire's intelligence agency. Such agents conceal themselves with secret identities, operating in disguise as couriers, observers, and spies throughout the Empire. Yeah, that's us. We're basically forced to be a spy. I mean, not forced, we can leave at any time, but still. Alchemy might not be bad to get some alchemy under our belt. Yep, no one knows our boy. It's interesting that almost the beast races and the orcs populate this this tavern more.
Questions.
All right, the Black Arrow Part 1. It's a skill book, so we're gonna read it. I was young when Duchess Woda hired me as an assistant footman at her summer palace. My experience with the ways of the titled aristocracy was very limited before that day. There were wealthy merchants, traders, diplomats, and officials who had large operations in Eldenroot and ostentatious palaces for entertaining, but my relatives were all far from those social circles. There was no family business for me to enter when I reached adulthood, but my cousin heard that an estate far from the city required servants. I was so remotely located that there were unlikely to be many applicants for the positions. I walked for 5 days into the jungles of Valenwood before I met a group of riders going my direction. The Valenwood is the Wood Elf place, the Wood Elf country. There were 3 Bosmer men, 1 Bosmer woman, 2 Breton women, and a Dunmer man, adventurers from the look of them. Are you also going to Molva? Asked Broelisa, one of the Breton women, after we had made our introductions. I don't know what that is, I replied. I'm seeking a domestic position with the Duchess of Woda. We'll take you to her gate, said the Dunmer Missin Akin, pulling me up to his horse. But you would be wise not to tell her grace that students from Moliva escorted you, not unless you don't really want the position in her service. Akin explained himself as we rode on. Molva was the closest village to the Duchess's estate, where a great and renowned archer had retired after a long life of military service. His name was Theomaste, and though he was retired, he had begun to accept students who wished to learn the art of the bow. In time, when word spread of the great teacher, more and more students arrived to learn from the master. The Breton women had come down all the way from the western reach of High Rock. Akin himself had journeyed across the continent from his home near the great volcano in Morrowind. He showed me the ebony arrows he had brought from his homeland. I had never seen anything so black. From what we've heard, said Copale, one of the Bosmermen, the Duchess is an Imperial whose family has been here even before the Empire was formed. So you might think that she was accustomed to the common people of Valenwood. Nothing could be further from the truth. She despises the village and the school most of all. I suppose she wants to control all the traffic in her jungle, laughed Prelisa. I accepted the information with gratitude and found myself dreading more and more my first meeting with the intolerant Duchess. My first sight of the palace through the trees did nothing to assuage my fears. It was nothing like any building I had ever seen in Valenwood, a vast edifice of stone and iron with a jagged row of battlements like the jaws of a great beast. Most of the trees near the palace had been hewn away long ago. I could only imagine the scandal that must have caused, and what fear the Bosmer peasants must have had of the Duchy of Woda to have allowed it. In their stead, so this is because trees are sacred to the Bosmer. If you cut down a tree, that's worse than murder. In their stead was a wide gray-green moat circling in a ring around the palace, so it seemed to be on a perfect, if artificial, island. I had seen such sights in tapestries from High Rock and the Imperial Province, but never in my homeland. There'll be a guard at the gate, so we'll leave you here, said Akin, stopping his horse in the road. It'd be best for you if you weren't damned by association with us. I thanked my companions and wished them good luck in their schooling. They rode on, and I followed on foot. In a few minutes' time, I was at the front gate, which I noticed was linked to tall and ornate railings to keep the compound secure. Tall and ornate railings. So as someone that studied this in college about like defensive fortifications and siege walls from the ancient time period up to medieval, and even I would say into the 1800s with star forts, this seems... yeah, I don't know why they're calling it railings. When the gatekeeper understood that I was there to inquire about a domestic position, he allowed me past and signaled to another guard across the open lawn to extend the drawbridge and allow me to cross the moat. There was one last security measure, the front door. An iron monstrosity with the Woda coat of arms across the top, reinforced by more strips of iron with a single golden keyhole. The man standing guard unlocked the door and gave me passage into the huge, gloomy, gray stone palace. Her Grace greeted me in the drawing room. Wow, seeing the leader right away. And seeing the, the Duchess. She was thin and wrinkled like a reptile, cloaked in a simple red gown. It was obvious that she never smiled. Our interview consisted of a single question. Do you know anything about being a junior footman in the employment of an imperial noblewoman? Her voice was like an ancient leather. No, Your Grace. Good. No servant ever understands what needs to be done, and I particularly dislike those who think they do. You're engaged. Life at the palace was joyless, but the position of junior footman was very undemanding. I had nothing to do on most days except to stay out of the Duchess's sight. At such times, I usually walked 2 miles down the road to Moliva. In some ways, there was nothing special or unusual about the village. There are thousands of identical places in Valenwood, but on the hillside nearby was Master Hiomaste's archery academy, and I would often take my luncheon and watch the practice. Prelisa and Akin would sometimes meet me afterwards. With Akin, the subjects of conversation very seldom strayed far from archery. Though I was very fond of him, I found Prelisa a more enchanting companion, not only because she was pretty for a Breton, but also because she seemed to have interests outside the realm of marksmanship. There's a circus in High Rock I saw when I was a little girl called the Quill Circus, she said during one of our walks through the woods. They've been around for as long as anyone can remember. You have to see them if you ever can. They have plays and sideshows and the most amazing acrobats and archers you've ever seen. That's my dream, to join them someday when I'm good enough. How will you know when you're a good enough archer? I asked. She didn't answer, and when I turned, I realized that she had disappeared. I looked around, bewildered, until I heard laughter from the tree above me. She was perched on a branch, grinning. I may not join as an archer. Maybe I'll join as an acrobat, she said, or maybe as both. I figured that Valenwood would be the place to go to see what I could learn. You've got all those great teachers to imitate in the trees here. And those ape men. She coiled up, bracing her left leg before springing forward on her right. In a second, she had leapt across to a neighboring branch. I found it difficult to keep talking to her. The Imaga, you mean? I stammered. Aren't you nervous up at that height? It's a cliche, I know, she said, jumping to an even higher branch. But the secret is not to ever look down. Would you mind coming down? I probably should anyhow, she said. She was a good 30 feet up now, balancing herself, arms outstretched, on a very narrow branch. She gestured toward the gate just barely visible on the other side of the road. This tree is actually as close as I want to get to your Duchess's palace. I held back a gasp as she dove off the branch, somersaulting until she landed on the ground, knees slightly bent. That was the trick, she explained, anticipating the blow before it happened. I expressed to her my confidence that she would be a great attraction at the Quill Circus. Of course, I know now that was never to be. On that day, as I recall, I had to return early. It was one of the rare occasions when I had work of a sort to do. Whenever the Duchess had guests, I was to be at the palace. That is not to say that I had any particular duties, except to be seen standing at attention in the dining room. The stewards and maids worked hard to bring in the food and clear the plates afterwards, but the footmen were purely decorative, as a formality. But at least I was an audience for the drama to come. All right. Wow. The sounds of eating. The Black Arrow Part 1. I really like the books in this game. I guess I was starved for fantasy reading when I was a child, and this is one of the first ones that had what I was looking for. Man, I want to turn the mouse sensitivity down so much. Okay. So yeah, more teachings on acrobacy. Not that we're very good acrobats at all. I believe our, what's it? Acrobats 25 is our skill there. But hey, it gives us strength. You know, that's not terrible. We could do with a little bit more strength. At least some light conditioning. Yeah, he's supposed to be here. Downstairs reading, or in the back room below the bar. Oh, interesting window arrangement. Trader, he'll be downstairs reading. Yep, see, it's the same thing. I can't find him. Barter? Yes. Do love a good barter. Could pick up some things for being an alchemist, but still, I just want to do the quest, but I don't know where he is. Oh, I see. It's under the bar. I'm so dumb. Okay. He's probably this one, yep. And has her Zen Subani Tabiri. May you bless and be blessed. Oh, that's so generous of a greeting. I'm going to use that in real life now. May you bless and be blessed. I do not wish to be rude, but if you have business, speak it. For I am at leisure. I would prefer to be alone with my thoughts. I am at leisure. Yeah, that's... God, the writing in this game is so good. I'm going to use that all the time. I see you wish to learn of Ashlanders from me. And what is it that you wish to learn? Yeah, what are your gift-giving customs? That's probably good. A curious question. A gift is a sign of courtesy among strangers and affection among friends. Among strangers, a thoughtful gift is a sign you are cautious and considerate and aware of the other's wants and needs. Such is particularly useful for traders and travelers. Among friends, it is a private thing and subtle with great risks. For the test of the gift is how well it is tailored to the receiver, just like in real life. I think this is from Mongolian traditions of gift giving. Yeah, Kirkbride, so the wording is really nice. I agree. According to your username, I assumed you are an experienced TS3 player. I mean, I played it when I was a child, and I'm playing it now as an adult to record it for posterity and try to get, it's being recorded on my YouTube channel in 51 parts. So I'm doing my best to remember how to play this game from being a kid, but it's very enchanting. It's my favorite. So let's explore courtesy. Ashlanders may challenge a stranger who enters a yurt without invitation. Oh, wow. So if you go into someone's house, that could be a crime. Customs differ with different tribes, but leave when requested and you may be forgiven. Be particularly careful about Ashcans, tribal chiefs and wise women, tribal seers and counselors. Some are welcoming, some are hostile. Be courteous and leave if requested. If offended, they may attack. Wow. Okay. Ease. I understand you wish to give me a suitable gift, but you do not know me well enough to choose such a gift, or you cannot find or afford a gift you know to be suitable for me. Well, let us take your earnest thought and effort as a token of your gift. You have behaved courteously, and I am inclined to help you. What would you wish to know about the Ashlanders and the Neverine cult? Interesting. I think this is because our personality is high enough, or at least we didn't go straight to the Ashlanders and Neverine cult and interrogate him. The showing of respect to tribal people, especially as an outsider or Westerner or colonizer, is extremely important to understand as a cultural reality. There's a good book that I have called Blackfoot Physics, where a NASA physicist goes to live for a while with an Algonquin tribal people in southern central Canada. And that's one of the things he talks about the most, is you have to understand the weight of what your people have done to their people for the last 400 years and the trauma and what you represent to them, in order to interact with them in a respectful and responsible way. And that's very difficult and very hard. Some of the people that I know from my place in Colorado are local Lakota people, and they have meet-togethers with other native peoples of the Comanche and Apache tribes, and they still have to deal with the realities, the political and cultural realities that America has as restrictions for tribal people. One of the major crusades, if I can remember it correctly, is the Lost Women Tribal Crusade. Gosh, if I can just... My eternal curse is remembering all the references that I've found. let's see. Basically, tribal women are severely at risk for being kidnapped and sexually assaulted and murdered because they don't participate in the same police structure that the rest of the state police for the United States do. And that means that there are lost women that is uniquely vulnerable and targeted crime against women of tribal descent or women who are on reservations. Yeah. Guilt isn't endless, though, and then truly no one is ever innocent, but respect should be given. I agree. I mean, it's a complicated subject, and as someone who wants to be an educator for history, the way that we tell the story about our past can influence the younger generation's perception of it, and that in turn can influence what may happen in the future with that generation. So it's we actively create the past around us through our speech and through our perceptions, and that acknowledgement is one of the key realizations or enlightenments of studying historiography, which is historiography is just the study of how history is taught. Yeah. I mean, it's mentally impossible to inherit guilt. True, because you don't have control over it. You can only be guilty about something that you have control over. But the reality is that we have partial control over the world and our input in it in the present space, politically, and also socially and culturally through our perceptions and actions. And we also physically are gaining the benefits from past misdeeds. Like literally the city that I live on is the site of a Native American massacre. And by this region not still belonging to Native peoples, they have emotions about that. You know, they still, one of the good works is called Reservoir Dogs. I believe it's an American, or rather a Native American show, and it's very, very good, and it talks about a lot of these issues from the Native American perspective first, and then asks, you know, white Western civilized audiences to kind of understand what it must be like to grow up on the reservation, cut off from a lot of the technological and social enfranchisements that the West does enjoy, and then to bear the weight of the history story on your shoulders going forward. Several of my friends participated in education outreach programs because they are teachers for Native American children. And Native American children, you know, every child has to come to their own understanding of reality and the world independently. And when they do that, they're usually about like 9 or 10. And there's an anger that's experienced once they realize how screwed they are compared to white kids. And that is an always on crisis that is happening to them. And they often get angry at white teachers who are trying to teach them, you know, white American scholasticism, which is different than tribal education and is in a different structure because it's about sitting down and taking tests and learning math. And that's, you know, what's prescribed to them as being important for their survival. And it's different than what their culture and what their family values in lots of ways. Or it can be, you know, I don't want to speak for everyone. But there is often a very strong difficulty as a teacher to teach a cultural group that your group has almost completely disenfranchised and wiped out and slaughtered. And we're only just now coming to acknowledgements of that. For example, California, the governor of California, just a few weeks ago, acknowledged the California Indian massacres, which have not been studied at all and do not appear in any American history textbooks. But we are just finding out about the cover-up that the California state has for huge massacres that occurred with California tribal people. And, you know, Californians just previously thought, well, they just didn't have that much of a population of tribal people in California when they got there after the Mexican-American War. But that's not true at all. We just killed them and covered it up. I say we, of course, as American citizens, past and present. Not present, but the American government chose to take an action against those people. And if you participate in tribal identity, as the Ashlanders do, they remember that stuff. You know, that stuff is passed down. There's a good quote that I actually almost named this article about, this particular episode about, which is "The axe forgets, but the tree remembers." That was my go live notification for anyone who is subscribed to me. But anyway, that is the title of a new episode in the Star Wars series Andor. And it is about what the consequences of colonialism can look like from the receiving end. And that is much of the story of the Ashlanders in this game, is what it is to lose the history, what it is to be on the losing side of some history. And I think the way we do that responsibly as educators and as historians is deep listening practices first, and then recognizing what the position actually is for them, which is, you know, from their position, very scary to be low power. And I mean, not low power in a low power politically, and certainly militarily. Okay, so let's move on. You should probably play the actual game. But that's why I made this series, is to unify how I got interested in learning history as a child with what this game showed me about how good fantasy writing and world building can be, which is just physically representing some of the real life things that we have to deal with. And this is an American game, you know, this is Bethesda. So we, every time we see themes about slavery in an American game, we want to think of the Civil War. Whenever we see themes about tribal people being colonized and taken over and having their land infringed on, we want to think about Native American and American government interactions, right? Especially if you live in the West, as we do, or as I do. All right, Ashlanders. There's too much to tell here. Take these notes. I've written here what you should know about Ashlanders and the Neverine cult, but most of all, if you are visiting a camp, there are things you should know about courtesy and challenges among the Ashlanders. And since you ask about the Neverine cult, perhaps you'll be interested in my views on the Ashlanders and foreigners, because a guiding passion of the Neverine cult is their hatred of foreigners. Yeah. We can make the world a better place without placing guilt, but by remembering the past. And then keeping a guilt around that is a form of different generation is not helping the cause, as it only leads to finger pointing that prevents the evolution of mind. Yeah, I mean, okay. I found this rather interesting, even though you added too much psychological aspects to it that are purely human, and usually the case of becoming or growing up. Older and wiser ones replace anger and finger pointing with solution finding. Anyhow, back to the game. Yeah, I mean, there is much there at that we can go into. Although I fear it would take up the majority of the time for the rest of our episode, because it is a very deep and rich, beautiful subject. But of course, it's also human and very political, almost by definition, which of course is always contentious. But personally, I think that's the best part about being human, is arguing. I'm from a background and tradition of studying speech and debate and oratory, and debate and argumentative structure as a key to unlocking the truth in the Western tradition of ancient Greek oratory and ancient Greek argumentative structure being the heart of academics and the heart of philosophy. So, I love doing this stuff all day. I don't see it in the same way as like threatening and contentious or uncomfortable as many other people do, because that's kind of my background and training as a hobby for fun. I signed up for classes and a club that is just speech and debate club in in the West. So I think it's important to express ourselves. It's important to compare beliefs and important to grow. Well, at least I grow through the comparison of different beliefs. Really scratch the surface, but as you pointed out, it's political, and political as well as religious topics can be very problematic. Yeah, but as I said, like, problems, what is a problem, right? I think that the world right now is kind of allergic to the true uncomfortable struggle that compromise and working together politically. Certainly in America, we've experienced huge divisiveness and an unwillingness to come together to ask and talk with each other and make the kinds of compromises that built this country, which is leading many people, and YouTubers especially, to write videos that are called "Is a Second Civil War a Reality?" People in America feel cut off from the old difficulties, and perhaps, with good reason. Certainly myself is included in this as an American citizen who, recently experienced the Trump presidency. Many people are filled with anger, and we see things two-dimensional, which prevents any constructive conversation, resulting in heated debates instead. Yeah, but anger isn't necessarily bad either. There is the angry Buddha. He's angry at samsara, and there can be righteous anger as well. Anger, or rather the demonization of the emotion of anger, I feel like is also part of the problem, because I don't believe anyone can live life truly without experiencing anger. And so the responsible way to interact with anger is to accept and acknowledge and explore it and give it its honored place, and defending your boundaries with fire, rather than trying to suppress it or eliminate it or get rid of it. I think listening to anger is one of the keys to truly having compassion and truly understanding the world, and to come to a better, a more enlightened expression of your place in the world as well. I don't agree with like demonizing or skewing anger or cutting out anger from the human experience, because the Ashlanders have a lot to be angry about. Okay, but we should continue. All right, so we got Zansby's notes has been added to our inventory. The journal has been updated. Okay, so Neverine Cult is probably what we want next. Anger is a bad basis for conversations unless everyone involved is evolved enough in their willpower to be able to admit fault for being wrong, allowing others to change their point of view without being compromised mentally. Okay. Yeah, I'm tempted to continue with this conversation because I believe it's important also. So Thich Nhat Hanh has a book that is called The Art of Communication. And Thich Nhat Hanh is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, and if anyone knows the history of America's involvement and the French involvement with Vietnam recently, and there's a lot of pain on the Vietnamese experience on both sides recently in his life. He sadly died earlier this year, but his book lives on. I can link it. Okay, I think this is helpful.
You can focus on
to
trying
start.
to understand each other, using compassionate speech and deep listening, no matter what the outcome. Mutual understanding in challenging situations. Compassionate communication is an extraordinarily powerful way to create mutual understanding and make changes. It can be used in situations where many people thought connection and communication impossible. It can transform situations where both parties are full of both fear and anger. I have seen this when we've hosted groups of Israelis and Palestinians at Plum Village. The first few days of such a retreat are always very difficult. In the beginning, both groups are full of fear, anger, and mistrust. The two groups don't even like to look at each other. They're so suspicious. They don't feel good when they look at each other because they've suffered a lot, and they believe that their suffering has been brought by the other side. During that first week, we focus solely on communicating with ourselves. Both groups practice and train in mindful breathing, non-thinking, and deep listening to themselves. Only in the second week do we encourage the compassionate communication practices of deep listening and loving speech with each other.
I agree with you that anger isn't, a stable place, as a basis for conversation, but it is an important part as a basis for listening to anger. And that usually, or that feels like it has to happen first, in order to provide the communication that was necessary before a conversation can arise first. You need to show the other group that you're willing to listen to them. And that is one of the things that is being talked about in the game, which is courtesy and respect. I mean, if you noticed a few outdated perspectives, I would love to hear what they might be. I'm always curious to try to get wisdom, whatever it might be from. If you have any, enlightenments to share, please, I would love to talk with you about it, potentially at a later date. Worship the great Ashcan and Hortator, Neverrar, Moon and Star, who in ages past destroyed the evil godless dwarves and banished the treacherous Dagoth and his foul host beneath Red Mountain. The cult is of small consequence in Ashlander worship, and only among the Ushkilinu do its followers have any influence. Other Ashlanders tribes share the sentiments of the cult, but regard the Neverine prophecy with suspicion and skepticism. Interesting. Ashlander worship, maybe. All Ashlanders in a tribe, young and small, are born into the ancestor cult of their clan. The Neverine cult is different, though. It is a very small cult with only a few wise women with the gift of prophecy, and a few holy warrior heroes who guard and protect the seers. Sul Matul, Ashcan of the Urshkilanu, is the warrior protector of the cult, and Nibansi Mesa, also of the Urshkilanu, is of the oracle seer of the cult. Okay, so we're probably going to visit this tribe. The Urshkilanu and the Ashlanders of the northern Ashlands and the western Gash. In the northwest of Ardenfell, Ashkan Sul Matul is their chief, a brave and respected war leader and warrior protector of the Neverine cult. Oh, wow. That's something. The Urshkilanu camp moves with the herds, but usually lies close to the Sea of Ghosts. Okay. Alright, are we missing something? Neverine, Ashlander worship, Ushkalu, Neverine prophecies, maybe? I have heard it said that the prophecies foretell the return of a reincarnated Neverar, who shall drive the foreigners from the Ashlands, and who shall cast down the false gods of the temple and restore the true worships of the ancestors. It is a dream that would appeal to every Ashlander, but it is thought but a silly ancient legend, and little more by many Ashlanders, myself included. We read that the Ashlander cult stems from the times when the Dunmer were still the Chimur, aka the time before Azura turned them all gray in anger. Yeah, I mean, I think that my history that I've done with this game is that they were already separated from the House Dunmer when the original Nerevar came in to ask them for help in overthrowing, I think it was the Nords and the Dwarves, or the Dwemer, kind of off of their island. Of course, that is history that is written afterwards, so we don't, in history, we never really know how it all happened. We just have sources, and we either believe those sources or you don't. You have my notes for Ashlanders. Okay. I'm too old to travel now to risk the beasts and bitter blights of the wastes. Now I sit here warm and savor my imported Cyrodiil brandy, while my adventurous son, Hanat Zainzubani, assists me in my trade, seeking out sources of fine ebony, fetching them at fine prices. I wonder at my son. He has been so long away without a word to his father. Surely he wishes me to die of worry, so he may inherit this fine brandy. That's really funny. He has proposed to chart the rarely visited ancient underground complex at Mamea, west of Red Mountain. If you should chance to see him in your travels, chide him and tell him an old man longs for news of his son and heir. Aw, that's nice. I wonder where he is. Only the Imperials called the Dwemer dwarves because they compared their size to giants. In fact, the Dwemer were a tad bigger than the Mer, aka Imperials. The men, Mer. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that is a Dwemer. Yeah. They would be. What's it? Dunmer. Altmer. There's, what's the other one? The water people, I think. We're also Mer. Mer is elves, men is humans. Yep. Mer and men. Of men and Mer. The journal has been updated. The Urshaku camp moves with the herds, but usually lies close to the Sea of Ghosts, north of the village of Margon on the northern coast of Vardenfell. Okay, so we got a quest updater for Urshaku camp. Oh, and we're coming up on our hour time limit. Okay, I might stream again today. Thank you so much, Kagan, for joining in, and you shall be immortalized in this episode on YouTube if you want to go and look it up. It should be number 51, and I'll come up with a creative name for the things that we did. Oh, is he part of the Thieves Guild? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Let's see. Is there anything else we can talk to him about before we exit out this conversation? I'm on YouTube now. Help! Yeah, I mean, it's always a distressing event to be on YouTube. Okay. Ashlander worship. We have Ashlanders. We did Nevermarine cult. I think. They worship the great Ashcan, the Hortator, Nevarar, Moon, and Star, who in ages past destroyed the evil godless dwarves and banished the treacherous Dagath and his foul host beneath Red Mountain. Yes, I think we did. We did this one. Most Ashlanders wish all foreigners and their false gods could be driven from Morrowind. At the very least, Ashlanders wish the foreign devils would leave them in peace. Ashlanders think it's shameful to attack unarmed persons, but they will kill without hesitation an armed person who offends them or their clan laws. No Ashlander is fool enough to make war against the Empire. However, if such a war might be won, many Ashlanders might cheerfully give their lives to win such a war. Yeah. Zanzubani at your service. I'm in the guild. Nice. If the bad people you're looking for are the Kamanatong, they're in Balmora. Okay, so... Yes, my friend Tabiri, you say you want to ask me some questions. What would you wish to know about the Ashlanders, the Nevergreen Cult, or perhaps you wish to know about life as a trader? Okay, we've explored all of these before. Challenges. When challenged for sport, it is acceptable to decline. When challenged for honor, it is shameful to decline. Honor challenges come from offense given in speech or action, or may represent customary formal challenges of status or ritual. Interesting. Yeah, I need to look up some of the Central Asiatic tribes. I believe still have this. There's some research that I really want to do on nomadic tribes for the ancient Greek and ancient Roman time periods. Like many of the... I'm not sure if it's the Suleiman Empire. I'll look up what the Sanasid... I think it is the Sanasid Empire is the one that I'm more curious about. Modded or vanilla just joined. Yeah. Well, it's modded from, I think it's Morrowind Rebirth. That's what the mod is for me. Yeah. Okay, so challenges, courtesy, disturbing dreams. Perhaps it means nothing. It is peculiar, the tall figure in the golden mask. It puts me in mind of the golden helm of the Ordinator. Yeah, it does. But that does not seem to fit the spirit of the dream. My people take careful account of dreams, but only a wise woman can tease from them their meanings. Okay. This is his son. This is him. Life as a trader. Margon is a small village north of Aldrune. A road runs from Aldrune towards Nissus to the northwest and Margon to the north. Take the right branch at the fork to reach Margon, but it is a long and difficult road. The Outlanders may get lost, and Outlanders may get lost. The Silt Strider goes from Aldrune to Margon. It costs little, and you don't risk getting lost. You know, that's a very important part of this game also, is they always give you the Silt Strider. And when I was a kid, I never used it because I was like, I'm not going to spend money to walk, you know, like I want to play the game. Walking is part of the game. But as an adult, I realize how good that is sometimes. Not just for like you as a player, but also for your character. Like your character might definitely want to not be attacked by wild animals for like 30 gold, you know, if he's rich enough. Or she, in my case. All right. I think we're done with this. Price on your head. Yep. There's more Thieves Guild stuff. Yes, I understand. Don't give it another thought.